opposition in any political setup is expected to strengthen engagement on governance by providing alternatives to the people. In Enugu State, since 2023, the opposition has been visible, but have they been effective in raising the salient issues, or are we seeing more of provocative politics? Is there a chance that the party in power in Enugu State may have lost momentum due to increased opposition activities, or are we still in the early days before 2027? This is the Eastern Eye. I am Alex Ogbodo. Welcome to the Eastern Eye here in Afia TV, a program that x-rays the political, social, and economic developments around us. Joining me tonight is Dr. Obasi Chikezie. He's a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on the Eastern Eye.
Good evening. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, viewers.
Enugu is getting interesting, isn't it? And some people might want to say there was a time no shaking was a cliche in Enugu. Is it safe to say no shaking now?
When no shaking was on in Enugu, there was no shaking at the center at the same time. So Enugu was directly linked to the center. So as at that time, you could see that Enugu PDP was, like a mini set of what was happening at the national level. Nigeria was under the leadership of PDP. That was precisely 2000 to 2007, under the leadership of Obasanjo. That statement, I think, came on, under a banner family in 2003, where he said no shaking. And I remember clearly that the state was happily married, politically to the center. So there was this protection. There was no pressure at the state level from the national party. Right, it was a symbiotic, relationship. And every person that, was a political office holder from Enugu State as at that time, because of PDP stock. PDP as at that time was the dominant party. And if you remember, by 1999, we overwhelmingly voted PDP, under President Olusegun Obasanjo. So we had no shaking then. But I don't think that can be said of today, when another political party is at the center and we are, a party that's in a position at the state level. This can be likened to what happened in 1979 to 83, when you had MPN at national level and MPP at the state level. So you cannot say the same as today. For anybody who wants to say no shaking, may not have understood, or maybe underestimating what could surprises the opposition could spring. And even as of today, as I speak to you, we know clearly that majority of the, not majority, but many of the National Assembly members are not of the same PDP stock. So that's, you cannot really say that there's no shaking today. That's the truth.
We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, I'll still have more questions for Dr. Obasi Chikezie. You're welcome back to the Eastern Eye here on Afia TV, and I still have Dr. Obasi Chikezie here. So let's talk about what's the latest. I think it was on Saturday, or was it on Friday? On Saturday, I think it was, that you had a sitting governor visiting Nsukka, and also the opposition leader also visited Nsukka the same day. I'm not sure it has happened before in the recent history or recent memory in Enugu, where you see two opposing political figures appearing in the same town on the same day. Some people are already suggesting that it shouldn't have happened, that such a gathering shouldn't happen simultaneously. I mean, who should decide whether such gatherings should happen simultaneously? Because they were obviously political gatherings. Is it necessary for two rival political parties to hold rallies? Whether you don't call it a rally, but that's what it appeared to be. Whether it was, you said it was commissioning anything. I mean, tensions ran high in Nsukka on Saturday.
me, personally, I do not see anything wrong in that. This is democracy. People are free to choose days of which they will do the activities. The sitting governor has the every right, to make a deal on Asuka on that day, and the opposition could have their meeting. I believe that probably that was a coincidence, but even as at that, believe that the beauty, of Enugu State was manifest that very day. We didn't have any rivalry. Both parties, both occasions were attended by their faithful members and those that support them, and everybody went home. So for me, I do not see it as any issue. Any attempt to stop either of the parties, from holding their rallies actually maybe infringement on the fundamental rights of those people. Assuming if the state governor had actually insisted that that rally wouldn't hold, they might be scoring them negative political points. And people might see him as trying to muzzle, exercise undue, force, undue pressure on the opposition. At the same time, if opposition had gone, to disturb what the governor was doing, that would have been extremely wrong. So I believe that both occasions show that each of them have faithfuls and they were. I do not see anything wrong in that. And for me, it shows maturity again. It shows that the state government is well matured, to the extent that it could tolerate opposition. And then the opposition had actually proved that they are alive. They are not shying away, from carrying out the activities. But for me, I believe that both parties exercise their rights, and then that's the beauty of democracy.
So let's talk about momentum. The APC, they didn't come second in the 2023 elections. I think they came fourth in that election. And see what has changed. Enugu had a different climate shortly after that election, but with the level of defections we've seen into the APC, do you think it has changed the dynamics of the opposition politics within Enugu State? They now have serving House of Rep members in their ranks. So the only thing we haven't seen is any serving State House of Assembly member joining them, but they have National Assembly members in their ranks. Do you think that this confidence you've seen in the main opposition party here in Enugu, but of course they are the party in power at the center, has the dynamic changed in Enugu as we speak politically?
Dynamic change in Enugu in 2023. If you remember, it was a close margin that made His Excellency become the governor. The lead wasn't up to 20,000. It was quite very much a keenly contested election. You might say that it was the same house that divided against itself. Labour Party taking away a whole great chunk of PDP. However, you know that clearly from 2023, there's a departure, from what we used to know in Enugu State since 1999. And we are not expecting that departure to just die down. Even at the back of our mind that the main political party, at the center, is throwing overture, at the state. You may not really, if you take a look at 2015 to 2023, the Geoffrey Nyama, who was a minister, wasn't that politically sagacious, But that cannot be said with someone like Uchenna Naji. He might be soft-spoken, but cast your mind back. This was a guy that won the senatorial seat in 1999, and naturally, relinquished it, and said he was no longer going because he felt Jim Ogbodo was supposed to be better off. And Jim, went back and occupied that position. And ever since then, he had been, subterraneously, operating politically. But in 2023, he didn't, they only said they came forth, and I will explain clearer. If we watch what happened in the 2023 election, it was a party that divided into three. PDP produced the candidate that ran PDP. PDP produced the candidate that ran under Labour Party. And PDP produced the candidate that ran under ABGA. Frank Weke was a PDP minister. Chijoke Doga was a commissioner under Frank and a former House of Rep member. So it was just a departure. So if you take a look at what had happened, and you aggregate those three into one party, which they belong to, you know that the next opposition was, APC. And that's what you've seen. Sooner than we could actually say, we discovered that the Labour Party candidates, the Labour Party itself started having problems. I know that Sondoma, who is Natalie, is the Honorable House of Rep member representing Odeziago. At the point, was supposed to be the interim chairman of Labour Party, under Narandis man-led executive. But you can see that Labour Party crisis continuously lingered. And having taken a look at that, any politician will ask himself, which other party am I getting into? Because a politician without a political party is like a vehicle without a driver. In as much as we have gotten driverless vehicles these days, in Africa we haven't gotten that. So it's like a vehicle without compass, even if it's a driverless car. And you are not even running on any platform. Every politician needed to have a platform upon which he could anchor his political, belief. And they looked at what would be easier for them to handle, both locally and nationally, to give them that leverage, not repeating what happened in 1983, under Jim Ogbodo and the then Ekweme. The viable option they saw, or they felt calculated, was APC. And today we've seen a lot of Labour Party candidates, move into APC. I believe that because the dwindling fortune of PDP, the crisis in PDP, made them to seek alternative. Ordinarily, one would have believed that PDP would have been the better, safer home for them. But they, sort of alternative. And don't forget, each of these ones, they are gladiators in their own makings. You cannot take it away from them. They're in power and they have what it takes. Even if they've not been doing well, they have some time to change the fortune. So naturally you will see a lot of people moving in that direction. That's on one part. Number two, there are some people who are in PDP who felt, they are disgusted being in opposition since 2015. Many who have gone beyond, picking appointments at the state and who haven't even gotten it either, are feeling that it's better they get into APC, to see if they could get, appointments and, seek better relevance up there. So, and then, if you take a look at it again, you look at the APC, PDP at the state level can actually sort out the problems. There are some people who feel that there are more technocrats in this government than, politicians. Excellency was more in trying to say that he wants to rejig and get the system, before bringing some in. But so many of them are feeling annihilated, some of them are feeling marginalized. I have a couple of friends who told me they can no longer wait any longer, even when I tell them, just settle down, it's remaining about a year plus. I don't believe that you're going to lose. But you see, many of them felt, look, it's better we get into APC. If not for anything, to gain relevance, to see if they could have a better opportunity. And that's what is going on. So the opposition party is gaining momentum. Now, you take a look at the man who is at the center. You can't take it away from Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Always maintain, if you are getting into a fight with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you just have to be careful because he is a politician. He understands the terrain. He might not be a perfect one, You might defeat him. But for you to defeat him, it's not like Buhari, So you could see that he has been widening the scope in terms of appointments, in terms of a lot of things. He has picked a whole lot of people. And they are trying to, throw overture to the Southeast. For example, the issue of bringing in the Southeast Development Commission, giving them initial take-off grants. The issue of, some of the appointments you could see, you saw the other day, Ken Namani and so many other persons coming on board. So you know clearly that he's trying to, through his own bit to make sure that he woos in people. These are people that we have been appointed at national level, like the likes of Ugochukwu Abala, the likes of Tobi Okechukwu. These ones you can't just wish them away. They're not just pure technocrats alone, because I believe that these ones are sound technocrats. At the same time, they are grassroots politicians. So they will move along with their politicians to show to the president that, look, we have gotten, you have not just nominated a person, but you have actually had a show. Then the voiceless, of APC members who have been, voiceless in 2015 are beginning to resonate. For so many of us may not understand the national deputy chairman of APC South, I think in Enugu. He's from Enugu State, and he had been there in APC for quite a period of time. Many of them are beginning to gain their voices because they've gotten a politician at the helm of affair. So I feel these are factors that are, spurring APC, and making it look they are actually coming on board.
I mean, so let's take a look at that momentum that the APC has built in Enugu State, with all the defected members of the Labour Party and some PDP members who have defected too. What will be the next move for the governor of Enugu State? I mean, believe it or not, this is about the government house, this is about the Lion Building. I mean, a lot of talk about whether the governor will defect or not has been out there for months. Do you think that right at this moment that it is clear-cut that the Enugu State governor will defect? And to which party will he defect?
He has one party to defect, or two. As it were today, if he wants to defect, which I strongly believe that sorting out his problem within, or the state with the PDP problem is better. But let's take a look at the fact that he might be interested in defecting. The best and the most important, the best point for him to defect to is APC. But it comes with its own baggages, APC is a party, if you take a look at what they said in Delta State, you don't overtake and take over. Understand what I'm trying to point out? If you defect to the party, they are not willing to tell you to pick up and then change every apparatus of this party. The party may not be so much interested in, recognizing you and throwing away their loyal members. If you remember when the crisis brewed in Delta State, a national body told the state governor that, look, the party members are still remembered and they are noted, and that you must file in as a party member and climb the ladder. So at the same time, you should end your leadership at the political party level. So that's one end. And what does that portend? It simply means that you may not have all you want, in APC. It has to be a compromise, give and take. And in that vein, yes, you may most likely you may retain your governorship slot, president ticket, which the party may insist, for time's sake, for you as a politician, you have to go to the primaries, to fulfill all righteousness. But the party may not really give you an express opportunity to be the only person left. If you work politically, you might be the only candidate. Imagine. However, one thing that is clear is that for the other political positions like the National Assembly members and State House Assembly members, it may not be all that who, as you might see in the way PDP operates, because as it is today, you could see that a lot of people have gathered momentum, for APC. I know a whole lot who have been trying to win me. I come in, let's talk about Bola Ahmed Tinubu and then the support campaign basis. And I keep looking at the number. It keeps increasing on the daily basis. So it might be difficult for you to come into that party. And then these are men, these are people, these are instruments that have been there since 2023 supporting the president. And you just want to put them aside and bring your own persons. It might cause disquietness in that political party. And again, it might fuel in opposition. So the party will find a way of containing all of you. What it simply means is that issues 50-50, 40-50, 30-50, unlike what you might be having. So that's one. And then again, there's this dark edge, which if APC insists on going that way, may not be so comfortable by any sitting governor. And that is the fact that you are not going to give the person the political structure, that the person has to earn it. Sometimes it may not be as simple as you're looking at it, because there are people that have been in that party before you came in. And then when the governor is not certain that his ticket may be given to him, he might not have a confidence, remaining there. So for me, that's one. Then secondly, he might decide to get into another party, like ABGA, but it simply means that he needs to build that party from the scratch, and it shouldn't be viewed as opposition. Remember, if you go into another political party, the APC, you're going to field every candidate from National Assembly down to everybody. While your own party, you have your own men, where you field your own candidates, and these candidates are going to contest against the ruling party, nationally recognized ruling party. So it may become an uphill task for him to gather that momentum and continue moving with his own group. And then the third one is if you go into a serious opposition like ADC, it becomes premature at this level because you might be attracting yourself, and you might be attracting the overbearing influence of the presidency or the national party onto you. You might be attracting unnecessary enmity and leading to you distracting you from the governance, which you have at least 1 year plus to deliver before the election. So I think these are the issues the Excellency or whoever is advising him will consider. And then finally, if he remains in PDP, what are the options there? The only option he has in PDP is that he's going to, contain with APC, at every other, position. As it is today, PDP is not seen as very much, antagonistic to Mr. President. Or in as much as they are the main opposition, it has been clear, that a lot of PDP governors have not been, in a serious opposition to His Excellency. I mean, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
All right. We'll take a break at this point. When we return, we'll take a look at what the opportunities are in a society where there is strong opposition. Is it good news, or is it news that will be greeted with mixed feelings? Join us after the break. You're welcome back to the Eastern Eye here on Afia TV, a program that x-rays the political, social, and economic developments around us. All right, so let's continue our analysis of the developments in Enugu politics. The governor is, some people say that he's between the rock and the hard place, but you will have to choose a place, isn't it? I mean, yes. If there has to be something that will give way. What is it that, for you, what you've seen when you look at the lens, through the analyst's lens, do you think that maybe there is something that needs to happen within his ranks, or is there a lack of strong men around the governor at this point? Is the PDP at the weakest level now?
Yes, if you really ask me, there's something that happened between 2023 and now, and that's the fact that so many people who felt they were part of, making the governor, not being part of the government, The governor says he comes with disruptive innovation. And in that, he wants to do a lot of things, to bring Enugu on board. He had an ambitious goal of, $4 to $30 billion, GDP. And I can tell you that will require you not to be seen as the man that smiles. I must tell you the truth. People who are your friends will definitely not love you because you're trying to, change the narrative. And I can tell you that that narrative comes at a cost, whether we like it or we do not like it. The narrative is such that you lose a lot of your friends who may not appreciate what you're doing. A lot of people might feel pinched, especially when you are trying to mop up fund to, develop the states. It takes a while for such a leader to be fully appreciated. That is the state of His Excellency. And but at the same time, you have a second tenure to go. You have to be alive, to continue.
Politically speaking, isn't it?
Yes, I don't want to contact. You have to be alive politically to develop the state. And that is the point where he is. So what do I expect? I expect that right now a lot of issues, a lot of spaces will be open for politicians. Let's maintain that most of these politicians are technocrats. I can't remember any commissioner in the last 10 to 12 years that I cannot say this is a profession where he belongs to. The fact that you're a politician, the fact that you are a technocrat does not stop you from politicking. So I believe that it's time to, to open up the space, to get in. So many of these are political stalwarts, who participated in the last election to begin to feel governance, to feel and take authority, I always maintain that people do not support a leader necessarily because of what they will get, financially, but because you call them stakeholders. What does that imply? They are holding a stake in the government. And that's the most important thing that actually gingers people into anything. If you might be coming to work here But if you feel that Eastern Eye, you have a stake in making sure that Eastern Eye grows, you might say that at the end of the day, you might say this money being paid me here is not good enough. But this program will not die because you have a stake. When you mention Alex Ogbodo, say, that one that does Eastern Eye, it means you have a stake in it. So when politicians do not feel they are stakeholders any longer, they will naturally leave to a place where they think they have stake. I think that's what is happening. And I believe that His Excellency needs to deploy every arsenal in stemming the tide. The truth again remains that whether those stakeholders, whether it's going to APC, to PDP, or anywhere, he needs to get his men back on track. And you need to get the group of 2015 PDP, 2023 PDP members that were with him, They need to feel they are indeed stakeholders in the government. That's the reality. As long as they do not feel they are stakeholders in the government, even if you give them all the money on earth, they may not likely vote you. They may not like to actually bring out their mind. And let's maintain and I give people this illustration. When you gather people from the rural areas to come to Obara, to be in Obara to see the governor for an occasion, the governor goes around waving at them. Those men are not necessarily happy because the governor gave them money. Sometimes if you ask how much they receive in a day, some of them will receive 2,000 as at 1,000. If you equate how much they've lost, it's called that many of them have closed their shops, which they would have gotten tens of thousands per day just to come and come to see the government. But what is interesting is that when they are now shouting, His Excellency, His Excellency, and you're waving at them, looking at them, they feel that, look, that eye contact shows they are part of the governance. And when they get back to the rural area, what they will say, so he feels within him, he is among those that are, leading the system. Simply because they had come to see the governor might not even have, understood. One person that has that charismatic appeal is Chimaroke. Chimaroke will be walking around the street, sees a woman selling okpa, collects the baby, and the woman will jump, leave the baby, leave the okpa, and be shouting, why? The governor took my son. That's what the woman wants. And you could see that woman, he becomes a propagator of you, that this man is down to earth, do you know? And you might see the governor sitting down to standing there to say, that kind of a thing. And then, that kind of a thing. The woman feels elated. And not every woman will be like, that woman, you never can tell how many people the woman will keep, to you as a leader, So that's what I think it should be happening now. There should be more of political gathering, subterraneously, not to disrupt the government, and there should be more of getting stakeholders have trust that they are still stakeholders.
So, the way things are shaping up, if this year ends, the moment 2026 commences, is going to be all out for whoever wants to be anything in an elective position. The person will get into active mode. There'll probably be little time. They are politicking now, but nobody has made any.
That was what I said.
2026. Nobody will hide anything. If you want to go to the Senate, you will have to say it. Anything you're interested in contesting for, that's when it comes alive. So will it be too little, too late for anybody to leave anything they are supposed to do, either crossing over to a new party or changing strategy? Do you think this is a time to change strategy?
Let's take a look. Let's put this timeline properly. We have less than 10 months to the primaries of all the political parties. Remember, by June next year, every primary would have ended. So it's barely 10 months. We have less than 4 months for the year to come to an end. And if I have at the back of my mind, we are talking about 100 days plus, maybe 110 days, 115 days to the end of this year. We know clearly that people are going to take stand by the December this year. A lot of people will come back. They will talk about what has happened in the state over the last 3 years. And some people will take, some our brothers that will come back with whatever they see will inform their own opinion, going forward beyond 2020. So the governor has 2 points. First is that he needs to mold the opinions of political leaders that, look, we are in all for this. It's just that I need to present something that if our people see, they will say this governor is doing well. So that's what he needs to do. And this is time to bringing them on board, and leaving no stone unturned. Even the least person you can think of could be so indispensable that, when you go for political rallies and you hear people sing, you understand that everybody is very important, and is a stakeholder, depending on what you're bringing on the table. It's time to begin to correct some, misconceptions. I call them misconception about what's going on in the States. So it's not too late. I don't believe that people should wait till December or next year. Once you get to that next year, like you rightly pointed out, a lot of activities will start. Remember, in the next few months, political parties will start having their conventions. And in their conventions, they start electing people from ward level, government level, and so on and so forth. So I believe that any political gladiator, any political onlooker, any political analyst, any political viewer should be able to say, no, this is time to put up our sleeves, to put on our gloves and begin to get into the ring. The fight you're going to start now is a strategic fight. It's a fight where you are gathering your arsenals together. It's not a fight to start shouting or anything. Remember, politics is a game of number, and it's a game in which everybody has think about his interests. So you begin to look at people who have been interested in you and then going forward. As for their position, you do not expect Uchennaji or APC not to put up a strong show. I mean, how would they justify the fact that we are appointed? You need to see, let's be honest with ourselves. They have to justify to Mr. President that they were appointed. They cannot tell the Mr. President that 14,000 votes we got in 2023 is what we are capable of getting. So how do you justify the ministerial slots given to you? You understand? So why you are struggling to keep your own afloat, he is struggling again to make sure that he was a whole lot of people. In as much as they may most likely want to win the governorship. But I believe the most important thing there is that they want to show Mr. President, who has appointed him and most of them, that we have to deliver the state. The state where we're coming from, we are propagating your news, your good news. Are people being fully aware of what you're doing? So there are two issues here. So each of the party will be able to garner as much supporters as they could. And remember, there's a factor, which we have not really known. And that's the factor of springing up, that may spring up in the name of opposition. I thought first opposition. We know clearly that ADC are being guarded, but we never can say how effective they will be in terms of dislodging, or showing up a very big, showing as a position. Chidoke Doga was not planned to be a PDP candidate in the last election, but he became Labour Party candidate in the last election. But he showed up sometime in June, July of 2023, and he made an impressive, opposition. The same happened to P2B. He was never a member of the Labour Party until May 2023, and he picked the primaries, and we saw what he could actually, show in the system. Now, there is at the center of this is the masses. The last election showed us clearly that the masses are now a little bit more aware, of trying to make a choice of where they want to go. I monitored that election, and you could hear people who would tell you that they wanted to vote a candidate of their choice. That was prominent in Onkano, where Labour Party won every other position at National Assembly, but the PDP candidate, what's his name, Unnaji, what's his name, the House of Rep member, he won his own primaries. And when I asked people what happened, they said that even the members of the opposition, the Labour Party members on that election day, we are busy campaigning and saying, this man did work for us. So we should remember that he should go back, And that shows a lot to that, the masses are becoming wiser than you can imagine. So, and again, you must begin to show the masses what you have. Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his APC members should be able to show Enugu State people, this is what we should, why you should vote Mr. President if he comes back in himself. Why the PDP and, His Excellency should be able to say in Enugu State, irrespective of whatever the situation is, whether I'm in PDP or in any other political party, these are my works. So again, what did I say here now? There are three issues. First is the governor, the stakeholders of political party, and those that supported him. And then the masses. You must carry the three of them as we move on.
And now, the last thing you mentioned, the masses, how important is it, the populist part of all this? Because everyone seems to be concentrating on the stakeholders. What about the people? Do you think the people have been taken for granted in all these activities?
Anybody who takes the people for granted is making a very terrible mistake. I must tell you the truth. 2023 election was an election that people believed INEC rigged their candidates out. A whole of it's very obedient movement. They believed that they didn't do well. They didn't prepare on time. They hadn't enough time to handle issues. But I can tell you, the next election, if they have a vibrant opposition like P2B, on the ballot in the next election, I'll tell you it's not going to be the same thing. You can't just take away if what they believe is their right. I mean, if they are going to lose the election, they will lose on the ballots. They won't believe they will lose the election based on INEC, disposition. Let me give you a typical example. In the last election, Riti Kingibe won the election even before IREF Portal could get up to 50%. Because that was where we saw LAP 76, LAP 77 in Abuja. So what am I trying to point out? People are going to come out in the next election, provided they see a candidate they will support, they will vote that candidate, stay with you, and I can tell you, if you make the mistakes of thwarting the results, they may not wait to go to, I'm not supporting people going there, but they may not give you the opportunity of go to court. So the masses are critical stakeholders. You must put them into place. And you must hold them by showing them evidence of what you've done. And that's why I keep saying that His Excellency should be able to have strong men articulating what he has done over the last 2 years, which I believe he has done pretty well. But again, he needs to articulate stakeholders, politicians, who should be able to cascade this information down to the grassroots, so that whatever direction he is going to, they will understand that he meant well. And people who should explain to the Enugu that, look, what you are seeing as a difficult time is just but a matter of time. And no matter how it is, there must be, some difficulties for us to arrive at where we're going to. But if things get better, the socioeconomic index of the state keeps moving, that this is the trajectory of what he has gotten. He met the state at so and so level. Let me say a poverty, let me not use any number, but a poverty percentage of this. And his target is to get to zero poverty, percent headcount. That he has been able to reduce so and so to this. That given 2 years, this is what I'm going to do. Extra 4 years, and this is what I'm going to do. And then if that I made the roads dilapidated, maybe in the town we made over 1,000 roads dilapidated, we're able to do 20%, 30%, 40% of the roads with the lean resources we have. And then this is what I feel in the next 8 years we're going to achieve. And the implication is very simple. These are the positive indexes we have. Therefore, many of you who feel we're having some difficulties, payment and so on. Now, once we're able to put the amenities in place, then attract investors into the state, we are going to reap the benefits because our children are going to get work, and then the costs of living in the state will drastically drop. So it needs people, to take this to the grassroots and explain to them critically.
All right, great. And just before we go, let's talk about what the opposition is bringing to the table. One thing is for the opposition to be vociferous, but vociferous with what message exactly? Because one of the things you expect from the opposition is to provide an alternative. When you criticize a government, you have to point the way to the right thing, isn't it? So, are we seeing that?
I've asked these questions time without number. So, analysts have always maintained that. Let me give you this time. Let me come from a national level. When I had the P2B Rotimi Amechi, Atiku Abubakar shouting 4 years in Gotham. I said, that's not a manifesto. For Nigerians, for those who are not political analysts, that's a manifesto. But for some of us, it's not a manifesto. 4 years, what are you going to do? Can you tell us that this is what you would do differently that would change the trajectory of Nigeria to the other side? This is what the government is doing. What would you have done? And now they have done this. This is what I'm going to do if I come in a governance. And I kept telling people that the 4 years is not an issue to me. So I'm using that as an analogy in Enugu State. I'm expecting to hear the opposition. Yes, this is what the governor is doing. What we feel he is doing is not good enough. And so what do you want to do? It's not enough to tell me that we should remove Peter Mba. That's not enough. It's enough to tell me, okay, fine, this is what he's doing, and I don't think he's doing well. And this is where the opposition comes in. The role of opposition, in fact, people will tell you that the opposition is the government outside of the government. The opposition actually throws the compass. You know, they show this is your fault, and that's the beauty of democracy. Now, government should be able to go back and look at what the opposition is. The point the opposition is pointing is if we have something we should be able to change the narrative. Can we amend it? Can we amend the laws? Can we amend our policies? Can we get our targets? And I believe the opposition is doing that now by eating up, making the system to rigid. After all, in any government, you don't have opposition. It's not a proper government, except in somewhere like China, But for me, I believe that the opposition hadn't brought up that which I expect of them to bring to the table. I expect them to, be firm. I expect them to show us this is what they will do. However, I have to be cautious a little bit here. It's not time for politicking. So they may tell you this is not what, it's not time for politics. The major opposition leader in the state, who is Uche Naji, is a serving minister. So we are not expecting him to come campaigning for gubernatorial position right now. Or we're only expecting him to show what they've done at this, at the state level, what he has done as a minister, and then what his principal has done as a president of the country. So again, he is to show us what he's doing at the state level, and then the government is to show us what they are doing. But we need opposition actually, to push the narrative, to push a strong narrative so that we can have informed decisions.
That would be a good place to leave it. Dr. Obasi Chikezie, public affairs analyst, thank you so much for your illuminating analysis tonight on the Eastern Eye.
Thank you very much.
And that's the Eastern Eye for tonight. We'll be here tomorrow for a special edition of the Eastern Eye. We'll be paying some respects to the late chairman, Christian Chikwu, Nigeria's football icon and a great son of Enugu State. Join us tomorrow at 7 p.m. on the Eastern Eye. My name is Alex Ogbodo.